Protests are building up in Israel against their Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The Israeli police dispersed a group of anti-government protesters outside the Knesset in Jerusalem. The demonstrators broke through police barriers and even blocked traffic. Police had to use force to subdue them. Protesters had also set up tents which were dismantled by the police during the scuffle. Anti-government protesters called for a new Israeli government and called for national elections. This comes as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu responded to recent criticism by US President Joe Biden, asserting that his policies align with the interests of the vast majority of Israelis. Earlier, Biden had said that Netanyahu's approach to the war in Gaza was hurting Israel more than helping it. Netanyahu later responded and said, quote, "Don't know what the president meant, but if he meant that I lead a policy against the majority of the Israeli public and that it harms Israel's interests, he is wrong on both counts." Netanyahu air and ground assault on Gaza has plunged the Strip into a humanitarian catastrophe. Although US has been air-dropping aid into Gaza, a ship carrying aid bound for Rafah from Cyprus is still on hold due to technical issues. Israel's Defense Minister Yoav Gallant sailed with Israel's Navy net to shores of the Gaza Strip to take a closer look at the work being done on the sea corridor to the enclave.
We will bring the aid through a maritime route that is coordinated with the US on the security and humanitarian side, with the assistance of the Emirates on the civil side and appropriate inspection in Cyprus. We will arrive with goods that will arrive by international organizations with American assistance.
Israeli inspectors will be in the Cypriot port of Larnaca scrutinizing humanitarian cargoes bound for southern Gaza. Other than Cyprus, 8 trucks have been entering the south of Gaza through the Egypt-controlled Rafah crossing and the Israel-controlled Kerem Shalom crossing. On the other hand, as the holy month of Ramadan begins, war in Gaza has greatly overshadowed the preparations this year. The holy month looked dull for the Palestinians. Police were seen beating people at the Al-Aqsa gate before the first Tarawih prayer. Well, for more on this, our correspondent Jody Cohen is joining us live from Ra'anana. Jody, good to see you. Ramadan has begun in West Asia and tensions are still high. What can you tell us about the various reasons behind this heightened tension?
So it's the first day of Ramadan and tensions are high for a number of reasons. Firstly, a US official has said that Hamas chief Haniyeh has called for violence over Ramadan. Hamas, we know, has called on Palestinians to march on the Al-Aqsa Temple Mount's compound in Jerusalem and on Iran and its proxies to increase their attacks on Israel. And on Sunday, we saw dozens of rockets fired from Lebanon into Israel and also some scuffles at the Temple Mount Al-Aqsa compound entrance in Jerusalem. Now, secondly, talks have stalled for a hostage release deal and pause in the fighting. And Mossad head David Barnett has said that Hamas is toughening its stance and seeking to inflame the region during Ramadan. And the Wall Street Journal said that's because Hamas believes it has the upper hand with mounting US pressure on Israel. Thirdly, Israel has said it would carry out a Rafah operation by Ramadan if no hostage release deal is agreed, and that would involve evacuating civilians and targeting the last of the Hamas battalions in Rafah. And fourthly is the difficulty in Gazans reaching aid as they try to prepare their meals for the start and the end of their fast. So it's a tense time and all eyes will certainly be on Rafah and Jerusalem this Ramadan.
Jody, President Biden has said he believes Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is hurting more than helping Israel in this war. What more can you tell us about this statement by the U.S. President?
So in an interview, President Biden suggested that a Rafah operation would be his red line, but then he appeared to backtrack and said that there would be no red line that would mean that the US would stop supplying for Israel's Iron Dome missile defense system. Now, commentators are asking, what does that mean for other US military support for Israel? And also, what does that mean for the Rafah operation? In response to Biden, Prime Minister Netanyahu quoted polls showing that the majority of Israelis support a Rafah operation. Now, that's because no Rafah operation would be considered to be an abandonment of the 134 Israeli hostages, and also could leave Hamas able to carry out further 7th of October style attacks against Israel, which it says it plans to do again and again. Now, Israel has said that if Hamas wants to alleviate Gazan suffering, they would agree to the hostage release deal and a temporary truce, but instead it says that Hamas is stealing most of the aid, selling some at hugely inflated prices in markets, and leaving those who can't afford it hungry. And the US has suggested that the new Gaza port would be designed to get direct aid directly to those civilians.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.